G'day viewers, this is the DBBR114, yet another video in my series of training videos for TSW5. We're going to get in and learn how to set it up with safety systems, and preferably how not to hit ourselves in the face with a door. Go, smack. Let's sit in the chair. First thing I want to do is set my reverser through to the forward position, and I want to key in on the brake stand. And then I'm going to hop out of the chair and wander down here down the corridor, because I want to turn on SIFA, which is the vigilance or alerter safety system, and PZB, which is the signalling safety system. We should be on PZB O as well. It should be one of these. Yes, PZB mode O, which is correct because we are a passenger train. It sets the maximum speed that you can drive at. Now this locomotive's a bit of a weird one. Let's just have a look at the other things. Pantograph's fine. Circuit breaker. Transformer. Yes, yes. Train power. Let's turn that on. Train lights. Let's turn that on. Let's set our signal lights to be white, white, and white. And if we look outside, we should have all white now. Lovely, we do. Fantastic. We want instrument lights on. We want to bring our force selector back to about 55 or so, 60% maybe. If it's let's stick with 60. If it's wet, you want to come down less than that. This is a speed selector, this thing here, not a throttle. Now let's open the doors, let our passengers in. And I'm going to release the train brake, but I'm going to leave the direct brake applied for the moment while we're loading our passengers. Now this thing out in front of us, this Christmas tree of signals, I wouldn't have the foggiest what that says. It's like green, yellow, big red disc, green, I don't know. I have no idea. I have no expertise in German signalling, particularly not transition error signalling from semaphores to colour lights. Alright, this time I'm going to lock the doors. I'm just using the Y key on my keyboard to do that. Y for left, U for right. It's the left or right on your D-pad for that. Now we're going to set the speed. Now we've got PZB. We're going to be in monitoring as soon as we start moving. So we don't want to go over 45 kilometers an hour. So we'll set that for 40 kilometers an hour, and that should be fine. And we will release the direct brake. Now the train will maintain that speed by itself. As we pass this signal, I would almost bet that we're going to have to acknowledge something with PZB, and we are. We've got a 1000 Hertz magnet, so we're still limited in our speed. Should be safe enough to hold 40 kilometers an hour. And we'll leave the monitoring because we can't release it. That is SIFA. Acknowledge that. Next time SIFA sounds, I'm going to let it stop the train and we will work out how to recover it. Just want to get clear of these PZB indications before I do that though, because I don't want to confuse things with you trying to learn and having two different things happening at the same time. Nothing to acknowledge on that one, but we were not cleared. There's another SIFA. Got another signal coming up here. Monitoring is cleared now, so we can go up to 60, but I want to see what this signal tells me to do first. Safe to release, very good. So we will release, and we will take our speed up to 60 kilometers an hour. Alright, so it looks like we're in the clear now, so we'll get through this junction. The next SIFA, I'll let it stop the train rather than acknowledging it like I have been. I acknowledge it with the Q key, or circle, or B on your controller. Cruising along through the big bridge. Alright, we're going to let SIFA stop the train this time. There we go. SIFA has applied the brakes, so we'll set our speed selector back to 0. I always like to apply a bit of brake to take control back. And once the train actually stops, I'll acknowledge SIFA. On some trains you can acknowledge it earlier, and some trains you can actually stave off the braking by acknowledging it as soon as it starts to brake. Right, so we'll release that. And that looks like that's happening, so we should be able to apply some power and go back up to 60 kilometers an hour again on the speed selector. And what I was watching, this yellow needle is the brake pipe pressure, and over here we've got the cylinder pressure on the locomotive. So they've gone down to 0, so the brakes have released. May take a little while before they fully release at the back, being an air braking system. And we can now go up to 110, so we will. Looks like it goes up in 10 kilometre increments. I like to stay about 5 under the speed limit, but that's not really possible with this. And if you stay 10 under the speed limit, you will probably not make the timetable. You can see how it's getting a bit bouncy there, even with the power set to only 60%, so you want it to be fairly steady. Do 130 now, so we should start doing that, and we'll be allowed to do 160 as soon as the back of our train passes this 1-6 sign that we've just gone past on our right, and I'll keep driving towards Offenbach. We are now allowed to do 160, so off we go. Let's rock. Now I notice this does have a power scale on both sides for acceleration and for bremsen, so fahren and bremsen. So that means that when it starts going downhill, the speed selector will maintain the speed using regenerative braking back into the overhead. Now to actually get up to that speed now that we're running, I might need to put the force selector up a little bit, but let's see how we go. Now that it's moving, it won't slip. Particularly in wet weather, you might have to come down quite low on the force selector. Hauling its tostos with the 766.2 alphabet cab car on the end. Almost up to the full speed, 6 kilometres out of Offenbach, so we'll actually have to think about slowing down fairly soon. So it looks like quite a daunting machine when you get into it, because it's quite different to a lot of the other locomotives, but really it runs about the same way. It's a slightly different control scheme. If you think of it like a locomotive with a throttle and AFB, it's quite similar to that, really. Because when AFB is turned on in that sort of locomotive, the throttle's really just becoming the amount of force you're applying. Alright, we're 4.2 kilometres out of Offenbach now, SIFA again, and I can see that we've got a 150 coming, so I'm going to start slowing down. I'm just going to set speed selector for 140 because I know that we're going to need to start slowing down for this station, so I'm just bringing it back to 120 now. 80. It's gradually bringing the speed down itself. But I'll probably have to start braking sooner or later. I'm going to treat the speed selector a little bit like AFB in that you wouldn't use it to actually stop your train, because it's just too slow acting. We are coming down quite a steep gradient as well, which isn't helping. Look at that, I got a reward. Lucky me. We are running quite late because I was busy explaining everything to you. So depending on your fortitude, you might go running much harder into the station if you want to. At this point, I am going to start braking. Otherwise, we're going to overshoot this thing. Me putting the brakes on, it's not actually using air at the moment. It's still using the regenerative braking, but it's going much harder than the speed selector would have. It's going to release that now, and I'm going to set my speed selector just to a very low speed so it keeps us moving but doesn't really accelerate as we come into this platform. Once we get close to the stopping point, I'll go back on the brakes and I'll set the speed selector to 0. Just scroll down a bit so you can see what I'm doing. Alright, we are just about there. So speed selector to 0. And now I'll start braking. Reset SIFA, of course, as it takes one last opportunity to try and take us out. Gone a little over the stopping marker, but that's alright. And we will open our doors. Sorry, I've been doing tutorials for days. I'm getting rather a sore throat in chatting all this time. Now, let's say you're going to shut this thing down at this point. We've got fully braked on. Apply the direct brake as well. Bring it back into neutral and key the brake stand out. Now, if you're going to drive it the other way and go change into the Dosto, you will actually have to release the direct brake. And you want to put this one into full service. That's about there. And then key out. And we can hop out of the train then. And we would at this point be heading up to the Dosto at the other end to long arms, eh? Heading up to the Dosto to set it up there. Oh, I would have changed the lights as well. Let me get back in and show you that. Excuse me. Let me just get back in and show you the lights. Put them onto red. So you just pull all three down to red, basically. And back out again. Let's just go and make sure they're okay. They are red, believe it or not. They're just a bit bright. Alrighty, that's about it for now. Thanks for watching. There's a whole lot of tutorials in the playlist. Sorry about my scrooky voice. That are useful for TSW5. And I'll be streaming this thing at some point as well, so thanks for watching. If you found this useful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Chuck any questions or comments down below and I'll see what I can do to help you out. And that's about it for now. So thanks heaps for watching and see you later. Bye.
We played a game.